In this class we're going to look at growth strategies, and more specifically we're going to look at strategic alliances. Now, strategic alliances are an alternative to mergers and acquisitions. Mergers and acquisitions means that companies come together. They come together formally. Perhaps two companies come together, they merge, and they become a single company, a much bigger company, and they share their resources. In fact, they become the same company. They have merged. So strategic alliances are an alternative to that. A strategic alliance is formed when two or more organizations combine to share each other's resources and activities to pursue a strategic goal. So an alliance is when companies come together to share resources, but they don't merge. They're still two independent companies. They're just sharing resources to cut costs and help them compete. The organizations, as I say, are completely independent of each other. It's simply a way of sharing resources. It aims to help organizations cope with increasingly complex environments due to globalization. And in fact, globalization is one of the areas where strategic alliances is most popular. So that a company in, let's say, the UK who wishes to expand into China will form a strategic alliance with a company in China. The company in China knows the market, it has the distribution facilities, it has the know-how, it knows the language, it gets over all of the problems. And the company in the UK can send its product to there and it's distributed. So it's just sharing resources, sharing, in this case, sharing the marketing and distribution. Now that's a strategic alliance. They're coming together, but it could be two local companies also sharing their fleet of trucks. Buying lorries and vans is an expensive business, so perhaps one company can share the lorries and vans with the other company. It's a strategic alliance. It's based on sharing resources. Let's look at the reasons for strategic alliances. Well, organizations may collaborate so as to obtain additional materials or skills, innovation, technology, finance, or access to markets. So the basis for the alliance can be in many ways. It can occur in many ways, I should say. It can be based on skills, sharing skills of the workforce, sharing innovation. Perhaps one of the companies is innovating a certain product, but as a byproduct of that, on the way to getting what it's doing, it produces something else. Or it sees a natural spin-off from the innovative process. So it develops a product that's not central to what it wants to do, but it would be of interest to another company. So they could have a strategic alliance to try and produce, manufacture, deliver this new product. They could be sharing technology. So businesses may collaborate for various reasons. If we're to look for one overarching reason, it would be a reduction in costs. The reasons why the businesses collaborate is to reduce costs, reduce the costs of innovation, reduce the cost of technology or of finance or cost of access to markets, or indeed just sharing resources, like I said earlier, perhaps sharing transport, sharing lorries and vans and distribution. So it's a drive to reduce costs. Costs may reduce by forming partnerships with organizations who offer complementary products. This process will improve customer offerings. Now, it's best to have a partnership with a company that sells similar products, because their distribution, their lorries and vans and their technology, the way to do things, a lot of it will be similar. They'll share similar experiences and similar pieces of capital. So it's easier for companies to collaborate when they have some sort of common background. Each partner has the opportunity to concentrate on activities that match their capabilities. So even though they're sharing capital perhaps, or research and development departments looking at particular problems, or technology or distribution, as I said earlier, even though they're doing that, they're really still concentrating on their own expertise, what they can do best. So they are still two independent companies, or ex-independent companies. There might be more than two. But the reasons for the strategic alliance is to reduce costs, is to help them. And that is the basic reason. Now, other reasons, well, learning from partners and developing competencies that can be exploited elsewhere in other markets or other areas. That's another reason for forming alliances. When companies come together, they'll learn from each other, and that may spark off innovation or new proposals, or it may modify the strategic plan so that they're aiming at something slightly different because they see new opportunities. They have learned from their new partners. It enables them to manage innovation more effectively because perhaps they have a better idea of where they can go. Not just where they were aiming at in the past, but now because of the strategic alliance, because of their contacts with related companies, they have new ideas, so they're able to amend their plan and develop new aspects to the business. So they're able to manage innovation more effectively. And as I said earlier, research and development costs could be shared amongst the organizations. Perhaps if it needs a specialist building or a specialized building, they're able to chip in and buy one between them or rent one between them. It may need pieces of equipment that they could share rather than just buying a piece of equipment that's only going to be used a couple of times. Share one, and that will cut down the cost of research and development, which can be quite considerable. Now, the types of alliances. Well, there are various types. As I said, we're not talking about mergers and acquisitions. These are loose agreements. The companies stay independent. The first one we can look at is a joint venture. The organizations are independent of each other, as I said. Both organizations jointly create another organization which is owned by both parent companies. So now we have two independent companies agreeing to form a third company which they'll own between them. And that third company will be the joint venture. For example, a UK company wishes to expand into China. It may seek local Chinese companies to gain access to the market through their local knowledge. In this case, the UK company supplies the business idea, the technology and the management know-how, and the Chinese company supplies local knowledge. So the two companies remain separate. There's still the Chinese company and there's still the UK company, but now there's a third company, one which is a joint venture between the two. So that's the idea of joint ventures. The next type of alliance we can look at is networks. This is a loose agreement between two or more companies to collaborate on a project. There's no formal relationship. They just agree to help each other. It's a loose agreement between the two of them to help out where they can. They are networking. There's no formal agreement. There's no big commitment on either part. It's an arrangement between them to help each other. The driving force for this form of collaboration is cost saving, and when mutual advantage is evident. So they agreed to help each other to try and save costs, to help out where they can. The airline industry represents a good example of this type of network. If a flight is cancelled at some airport, sometimes the passengers are put on to other planes, planes from other airlines, and they're helping out. They're sorting it out. They're getting the passengers to where they want to be, which is the objective, and they've done a favour perhaps to the airline that was adversely affected. It's a networking arrangement, and airlines have all sorts of networks, some of them quite formal, some of them quite loose with other airlines. In the event of a problem, they come to help each other. Another type of strategic alliance is that of franchising. In this case, a successful business issues licenses to other companies, usually in other geographic areas, for them to make and distribute its products. So it's a way of expanding the business. The business has a good idea, it's working in the local market, it's got a really good idea, so it licenses the really good idea to somebody in a different part of the country, so they can open and exploit it there as well. And it's done under license. The ones who are opening elsewhere will have to pay for the license. So it's a franchising arrangement. The main functions are supplied centrally. For example, marketing, the product innovation, and maintaining the brand name. So the company that's doing the licensing maintains marketing, maintains consistency right across. So it doesn't matter if you buy the product locally or you buy it in a different area, the same marketing will apply. It will only vary the product when it agrees that the product innovation suits the brand image and the name of the business. So it's maintaining the brand name. Good examples of franchises are Coca-Cola and McDonald's. Generally, franchises occur in the service sector. McDonald's maintains the marketing for its products. It develops new products, new food items, and it controls the market centrally. But it's got many distribution outlets, and all of those are franchises. They're all produced under license from McDonald's. Now, the next type of alliance we can mention is that of licensing. This is an agreement that allows a company to manufacture a product or service which has been designed or developed by someone else and is protected by a patent. So someone comes up with a good idea, gets a patent, or a patent as some people say, gets a patent for the product. In other words, it's got a legal ownership over that idea. But it can lease or license the idea to a company so they can produce it, and it's produced under license. The license, of course, is issued in return for a fee. Now, the advantage of this is that the patent holder benefits from the patent without having to make costly investment. Someone has a good idea to make something, they get a patent on it, they can then license it. They don't have the commitment to invest in the equipment to make it, or the raw materials, or they don't have any of those commitments. They just have a good idea and they license the idea. Now, let's talk for a moment about successful alliances. Successful alliances involve a strategic purpose. They must know where they're going. They must have a vision. They must have an idea of what they can do and what they can do together. So there must be a strategic purpose. The companies who collaborate are doing so for a purpose, and that must be clear to both of them. Must be advantageous to both parties. There's got to be some degree of compatibility between them. They must make similar products or have similar ideas, or they must simply get along together in a way which makes the alliance work. The importance of meeting expectations and goals cannot be stressed too much. The alliance is there and it creates expectations of reduced costs and of increased profitability. And it sets the objectives of perhaps expanding the market or expanding the product range, or it creates expectations and sets up goals. And if these are frustrated, the alliance will fail. So it's important that both parties to the alliance see their expectations realized. And they must trust each other. If there's no trust between them, it's going to break down. They're sharing resources. They're sharing ideas. They have come together for a purpose. And if they don't trust each other, it's not going to work. There must be based on trust. Each of them must have a high degree of trust in each other. Now, in this session we've talked about strategic alliances. And that's really all I want to do on this session. So, thank you for watching.